Okay, hey there, friendlies. I will tell you something. I will tell you something for free. This has not been the easiest day of my life. I came rocketing in with like 2 minutes to spare to get online, and of course, we had a couple of power outages this week, and I'd forgotten to verify the computer before trying to use it. So that's why I'm late. I had to go get my daughter. She was at a friend's place, and of course, she's as slow as, let's just say, she works in geologic time. But anyways, I'm here now, and I hope the hell that everyone's hearing me. You hear me, Mike?
Yeah, I got you.
Oh, this is not working. It's okay. We're just going to deal. So I hope everyone's having a good Tuesday night. Mike, how's it going?
Good. How about you?
I'm okay. I'm okay. I've got a very sick, tiny daughter right now, so I got no work done today. But aside from that, all is well. All is well. Let's just take a moment to do two things. One is the housekeeping. Excuse me. If you're watching us time shifted to tomorrow or next week, thank you very much for doing that. I like knowing that you're watching even after the fact. And sometimes some of the best questions happen after the fact. So I treasure you guys. I also want to say hi to everyone in the side chat. Hey, Mike, when was the last time you were on screen on one of these live streams instead of the other channel?
Well, it's been a while.
Yeah, I think so. We got Tenenbaum in the house. How's it going? We got Simon. Bonsoir, monsieur. We got Russell. Excuse me. Russell from Raspberry Rock is here. Grace, how's it going? Nice to see you. Mark Pootmans is here. Hello, monsieur. Anyone else? We got Chris Garland is here. How's it going? Mr. Pine Martin. Nice to see you, Martin. Oh, and Ian the Web Lord in the house again. Good to see you. Nice group we got here. So the subject for tonight's conversation was actually suggested by Russell. I was going to talk about something else, but I think that what he suggested is better than what my idea was. And when Mike saw what I was talking about, he said, I need an invite. Let's talk. So I sent him the invite like hours ago. If there's anyone else who feels that they have something to add to the conversation, I will put the invite down at the bottom. But sorry, guys, I'm trying to keep my Windows key combos straight here. But the reason why this suggested subject sort of tweaked for me was that at the day job, we've been doing this thing in my department for most of COVID where everyone has a task, which is to run an event with the team over Zoom. Not Zoom. What do we use? Teams. That is not work related. The whole idea is to keep us all from burning out or getting depressed. And one of the people gave us a list of things, survival items, but in the ocean. Your boat has sunk. You're in a lifeboat. You've grabbed a few things. Put these 20 things in order of importance for ocean survival. And she had, I think it was the U.S. Coast Guard published like the official list of order that you should have these items in. And it's amazing how wrong I was, because I spent all my time thinking about the woods, and my only survival training was woodland, the wilds on land. So when Russell suggested tonight's subject, it immediately made me think of that and how humbled I was by how different my order of importance was versus the U.S. Coast Guard one. I think it was U.S. Coast Guard. It seems like it seems the Canadian Coast Guard would just use the U.S. Coast Guard's list, What I'm drinking tonight, because we always got to say what we're drinking, right? You recognize this bottle, Mike?
Yeah, I can see mine right now.
Mike and I do a series of live streams on my other channel where once every month-ish, he, I, and another friend buy a bottle that none of us have ever had before, and we open it live. And so this is the most recent one we've done, eh? I think. Yeah. And it's a very tasty bottle for the price. I think it's a good purchase. So I don't know, Mike, what are your thoughts? Like, I was thinking of starting this conversation off sort of what kind of ground rules do you set kind of thing, or do you just like, it seems like the kind of thing a lot of guys who go on like alone or stuff like that have to deal with, right?
And for me, like, I don't know, survival is sort of a last ditch scenario.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you're talking about living, you put survive in the woods, I guess, but
well,
yeah, for me, the difference between being out there for 3 days or 30 days is usually just food.
Okay.
A lot, once you have a base load of equipment, it depends. If you're in a shoulder season, you can have vastly swinging temperatures, so that can make a big difference.
Absolutely. Russell is saying that dog is just chillaxing back there.
Yeah, he's freaking out. I don't know. At least he's not barking. That's okay.
Yeah, I guess you're kind of right. Like, is that month in winter, spring, summer, or fall? And like a lot of the baseline like bushcraft equipment and survival equipment is pretty durable stuff. I guess I sort of see, I've said this before online, but survival is camping by accident, right? Mm-hmm. So, people who have a special survival bag are the type of guys who are like prepared for everything. Whereas most people don't expect, if they go car camping for a weekend, they don't expect to be stuck out there for a month. Right. And so, like, I guess we can think of it in terms of two different. We can think of it in two different sort of terms, right? What's a basic survival bag that? You see, a basic emergency survival bag isn't going to be good enough for a month, though, is it? Because you're not going to have enough food. Because it's easy to say, hey, I'm just going to hunt for my food. No, you're not. That's not going to happen.
No. If I'm at the point where I'm worried about hunting for food, I'm probably already dead. The reason that I saw your video title and the reason it sort of resonated with me is that I'm currently in the middle of packing to go to Woodland Caribou next week for 10 days. And for me, I've just been thinking about things a little bit differently than, say, going to Algonquin or some Killarney or some closer parks.
Yeah, because you're going far, far now.
Exactly. So, in Algonquin, especially in the common areas, you're going to see people, and especially this time of summer, almost all the time, every day, maybe not every hour. So, your scenario for a failure or getting stuck, is a lot less.
Right.
Obviously, you're only 2 or 3 hours drive from Toronto. Much easier to get a helicopter or a plane in there. There's also lots of other people passing you if you need help. So, sort of when I've been going through my gear, it's like this time of year, if I was going to Algonquin for, let's use an axe. Okay, I would bring the smallest one I have, the outdoor axe, and I wouldn't even think twice about it.
Right.
Now going to Woodland Caribou, it's like maybe I should bring something a step up or not. I don't really know.
Yeah.
But kind of deciding so in this trip we're going to be double carrying, so weight is not as much of a concern as I normally am. I'll have 2 bags. So that's something I've just been thinking about all around. Same thing with my water pot. Typically I will bring a water filter, and I only use the pot for cooking. I bring an 800 ml or maybe 900, but this time I think I have about 1.3 or 1.5 liter. So my thought is, if the water filter, I lose it, break it, whatever, it's just a little bit bigger for boiling water if required.
Yeah. So the difference is not between like necessarily a weekend trip and a 10-day trip, even though you're sort of like, what I'm getting is how far you're going is as big a factor as how long you're going for.
Yes. Yeah.
If not possibly more.
For those who don't know, I live in the GTA area. It's about 20 hours driving, maybe a little bit more, a little bit less. And then we have a plane ride in, and we have about 150 kilometers to come out. So in Algonquin, you know, if you need to get out, you don't need to go nearly that far. But in this case, we don't have an option. It's either that or, you know, we have a GPS satellite beacon and you call for help. So yeah, there's a little bit higher, you know, risk, I guess. Maybe the risk isn't higher, but the consequences.
Yeah, the risk is the same. What happens after something happens can be vastly different. You can be waiting a lot longer up in Woodland Caribou than you will in Algonquin.
Well, especially there's a few fires going already. A couple of big ones in the southern spot. We already shifted our start point by a little bit. There's a fairly decent sized one by Muscatine Lake, which is where we were going to go in. So that kind of thing, you don't see big fires like that in Algonquin or often.
Right.
That can impact whether a plane can come in and get you.
Yeah. And now, are you going into a no fire zone then?
Yeah. No, sorry. There's no fire bans.
There's no fire bans.
I looked it up today. I couldn't find anything about it. I'll keep looking, but no, I didn't see any fire bans. But
now there's something that is vastly different in a bushcraft or camping scenario versus a survival scenario, right? If you're just trying to survive and you need a fire, you need a fire.
yeah,
You'll deal with the legal repercussions later. You'll try your damnedest not to start a forest fire, but survival takes the fun out of what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. And we're bringing in a little, like, I assume we'll be camping or cooking on the fire most nights. We're bringing a little isobutane stove, just in case it's really wet or quick lunch or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, we've been getting rained on a lot here. So I'm wondering, you too. So I wonder how far north that extends.
Yeah, I don't know. That's the problem when you're thinking about Algonquin where I am. You know, you figure 2 or 3 hours. Okay, that's pretty close, but we're almost into another province. So
yeah, you're almost in Manitoba. Actually, you're right on the border. Yeah.
In fact, where we're getting dropped in, if we went the other way, a day or two, we would be right into Manitoba.
Yeah. Yeah, I would like to see that park someday. For those of you who don't know, actually, it's mostly Canadians on right now, but for those of you who don't know where Woodland Caribou is, I'll see if I can find a map, unless Simo's already beating me to the punch. Because it's up there and it's remote and it's right on the border between Ontario and Manitoba. I'm just seeing if I can find a map.
It's about 5 hours of driving north of Thunder Bay, which is on Lake Superior.
Yeah, it's pretty far. Yeah, it's amazing though. Like, to me, a 5-hour drive used to be like a terrifying idea, but it kind of isn't anymore.
No.
Like, I would do a 5-hour drive without even thinking twice necessarily. But once you get up to a 7 or 8 hour drive, like here to New York kind of thing, it's like, oh God.
Well, what makes me laugh a little bit is for work, I go to St. John, New Brunswick every year, and we drive. And
What's
so
that?
from here, it's about 16 hours to St. John, New Brunswick. So if you think about going from Ontario all the way to the Maritimes, that's closer than going to Thunder Bay, which is in the same province, because you got to drive all the way around those lakes.
To me, as soon as it's longer than a hardcore history podcast, that's a long drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, Simone beat me to the punch. He found a Woodland Caribou map. He put the link in the side chat. It's far, and it's beautiful, if all the photographs can be believed.
I'll let you know in 2 weeks when
Yeah.
I'm back.
And it's exceedingly remote.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Tenenbaum.
Good evening.
Have you been to Woodland Caribou?
I have not. That is further than I have ever gone. It is certainly an ambition of mine.
Yeah, you've done like Algonquin and what have you done? You've done
Temagami, Quetico.
Sort of the usuals.
Mm.
Yeah, I haven't done any of those though. I haven't done any camping in Ontario at all.
And I would describe as none of those as super remote. Quetico is reasonably remote in the sense that you could be in a similar situation insofar as only a float plane is going to get to you anytime soon, depending on where you are. But it really doesn't compare. Woodland Caribou is another step up in terms of the need to be aware of your need to be utterly self-sufficient,
right?
Regardless of what may occur for at least a few days, if not. I mean, it depends on weather too, right? I mean, you could get into a situation where even if you need a plane, maybe for a week you can't have one. It depends on what the weather's like.
Yeah. Now, Mike, you've done Algonquin and Temagami, right?
Yeah, Killarney, lots of places, but this will be the most remote place I've been to.
Okay. So, in terms of getting equipped for a month long, let's call it a camping, okay? Let's not call it survival because they're very similar once you're out there for a month, right? So I'm assuming that you're depending mostly on what's the word sachet in English? One of you is in Sweden, the other's in Ontario, and I'm asking you guys what sachet is. Dehydrated food.
Oh, yes.
Because you're snipping a lot of weight.
Yeah, so we have 9 nights planned, maybe 8, maybe 10. I guess we'll see what happens. So the first night, I think we're going to bring a frozen steak. And then I'm bringing 7 or 8 dehydrated meals.
Okay.
And so that way we're not relying on fish. I'm going to bring a dinner for each night, but I mean, there'll be lots of fish up there, so we'll be eating that as we can.
Right.
I have to bring home dehydrated meals. That's fine. Typically, I do my own. I sort of ran out of time on this one, so I have about half my own and half store-bought.
Okay.
Yeah. So mostly, dinners are mostly dehydrated. Bring some rice and beans and some kind of stuff like that to pair with or to eat with the fish. So we're not just, chowing down on fish.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing that you bring up because for me, if I'm going to survive for a month, I cannot depend on fish due to allergies.
So that, and obviously up there, that's Algonquin is not easy to fish. I wouldn't consider myself a great fisherman by any stretch. But I mean, that's world-class fishing, and the park sees very few people compared to most places. So
yeah, I can eat white fish, but I don't know enough about fish that if I got a rod in the water and I catch something, I don't know if it's going to be a white fish or something, a poisson gras, whatever that is, an oily fish, a fatty fish. What are they called?
So, yeah, that sounds so like anything like trout, I guess, and salmon is out.
Can't do it. Absolutely not. So like
bass, that's okay.
Is that a white fleshed fish?
It is white flesh. Probably bass and pike are your best bet.
What about walleye? I don't know. Sure where that.
I don't know what that. I don't know where that one lands. I eat tilapia and I eat like cod, haddock, that kind of thing, because I know, that they're white, but I don't fish them. And the last thing I would want to do is catch something, end it, split it open, and see that it's something that I can't eat. I mean, it's not really waste because an animal will eat it, but it will still feel like waste to me that I killed something and I'm not going to eat it.
Are you entirely alone, Jess, or are you in a party of individuals?
Well, I mean, it's pretty open-ended, right? The subject of tonight is how would you equip yourself for a month's survival? Now, part of that is that part of the question is left open. If you are with a bunch of people, and and I'm catching fish like a pro and throwing them on the dirt, someone's going to be able to eat them. The idea of me being able to catch a fish is so bloody humorous. But I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like if I'm alone,
I guess you never know till you try.
yeah, I tried fishing once when I was like 12. I didn't catch anything, so I figured there's nothing to this.
It's probably the fish's fault.
Yeah, totally. But I don't know, like, so for a guy like me, I have enough hunting experience that I'm not going to assume that I can catch my food in any way. But like to me, growing up here, a firearm is not part of my survival kit, no matter what, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not worth the legal problems. If
I was going to say, even if it was, I mean, the other sort of part of this question is, are things so serious that now it's time for you to break the law because otherwise you're going to starve?
Yeah.
Is it a planned month or an unplanned month?
Well, a planned month is bushcraft, an unplanned month is survival. Right?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty big distinction.
Yeah.
I've never hunted, never owned a gun, likely won't. So yeah, at that, I think the most important tool you got is the full battery in your satellite phone.
Yeah. And a lot of sort of the survival experts say the same thing, that what's in your head, knowledge, yes, but also I'm going to survive. Right? A lot of people have not survived with full backpacks because they're like, I'm not going to make it. An absolute certainty that you're going to survive will help you, because the fact is, if you get depressed and scared and you freeze, then you're in big trouble.
Yeah, the opposite is bad too. Like freaking out, or if you're with other people, other group, infighting, that kind of stuff. I imagine. Yeah,
infighting could be bad too. Absolutely, that's if you're not solo. Yeah. I do want to. I've been sort of welcoming people in the side chat, but I do want to shout out Hike with Mike is with us again. Nice to see you. Dr. Sharp is here. It feels like forever since I've seen your name in the side chat. Nice to see you. And I do believe that there is someone else. Did I say hi to Adam Romano? No. Hey, Adam Romano is here. Nate Muskoka is here. We're talking about getting yourself equipped for a month in the woods. I said survival, but a month in the wild, whether it's unplanned or planned. It's hard to plan for a month in the wild, which is why the survival bit is negotiable. Because I'm not going to take up the entire trunk of my car with survival rations in the off chance that driving on the highway one night, I will suddenly find myself like 100 kilometers from the road.
And I see there that Nate said a skid of beer.
Yeah, I saw that too.
I had a couple beers with him one time. I know he's not talking about 24 for a month. He's talking about a legitimate pallet.
Yeah. Simon says that if you're thinking about living in the wild for a month, read André François Bourbeau first. I don't know if he is available in all sorts of languages, but there's a link
mentioned on English Wikipedia, so that's a good start.
Yeah, true.
I think if you're going to be gone for a month and you leave the food out because you assume that you're going to bring enough, I think after that it pretty quickly comes down to those things that are going to make you uncomfortable: clothes, shelter, sleeping bag,
a lot of toilet paper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at 30 days, you're probably starting to figure out something else with the moss, maybe, or whatever. But
yeah. And like you might wear I'm gonna start that again. You might wear through your socks, so maybe you've got to have at least 2 extra pair of socks along. Maybe you got to have some
shoes.
Yeah, and
hats.
like, so in the summer when I go, I get my feet wet. I'm not, it's hot, whatever. Even in the fall, spring, I'm going right in. Shoes wet, feet wet. I bring a separate pair of shoes. So for 3, 4, 5, 6 nights, not a big deal. But if you're starting to think 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, you got to start worrying about if your feet are wet all the time, French foot or similar. Those kinds of things become a lot more important. I've never gone for 30 days, and I probably wouldn't plan on it at this stage of my life. But once you get beyond, say, a week or 10 days, you got to start thinking about some other things other than just being comfortable.
For example, I'm always amazed at how minimalist a first aid kit people take on some trips. If you were going to find yourself out for a month, I would suggest you need something that I would call an expedition grade first aid kit, which is to say something that can handle any emergency that you have the training to handle. And the idea there being that the longer you're out, the more the probabilities are that you may have to deal with something more serious.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Maybe you cut yourself, or maybe you fall and sprain a limb.
Yeah, I feel that for short-term, like bushcraft trips, something that I would consider almost a trauma kit is what you need, right? You cut yourself with an axe, you break a bone, whatever. But if you're out in the woods for a long time, that you may have to worry about, I don't know, dysentery. I don't know, like
Gastrointestinal discomfort is probably a good way to describe one problem, and that's a problem that if you're out for a long time, it becomes pretty serious.
Yeah, because if you're dehydrating because of
you need energy to do things. You got to be able to be on your feet to do stuff. So you got to
I think the longer you're out there too, the less those discomforts will be an issue. Like to what Nate said there, I find that sometimes it takes a day or two when we come from our like comfortable lives with
This is the comment
car.
here, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So I find sometimes with a lot of things that the thought or the worry of it happening to you is a lot worse than the actual fact. Like I was on a trip in Algonquin a few years ago. It was late September, high of 10 or 15, low down to 0. And it rained every day, which is almost, worst case scenario. And we got soaking wet, but we had the clothes to change. So, and if you thought, some people might not even go under those circumstances.
Right.
That's sort of what's
in a way, it depends on what your situation is. Have you got shelter well worked out already? Do you not need to move? If you're there, then you're in one situation. And if those two things aren't true yet, then in a sense you're in another. In terms of likely future energy expenditures, and I guess what resources you need to make yourself comfortable, so you can be comfortable, or at least tolerably comfortable for that month.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sort of thinking about alone here right now. Maybe you get set up and everything's okay, and then for some reason you have to move.
Yeah.
You stumble your way into a hornet's nest that you find out is close to where you were set up. Now
That
maybe suddenly the situation's changed.
I'm putting a link in the side chat to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, just because of what Nate Muskoka just said, because it's a good point. I also like what he says. Just bring some books. Yeah, if you're stuck out there for a month, boredom could really start to eat away at you.
If you have food, it's probably the worst part of it.
Yeah, once you've got your situation sorted out, and
the worst part.
You can maintain body temperature and maintain whatever minimal input you need to stay alive, then it's a waiting game, I suppose. But you got to get there.
Yeah, and for me, I'm not survival expert. Never, not even close.
Me neither.
Not my goal, not my aim. So that's why I bring satellite communicator, good maps, and if things go wrong, you just want to be able to get help.
Yeah, you just want to be able to either get out or get help.
And
immediately.
as far as if you're planning to go for 30 days, what's your level of comfort? Are you moving every day? You're gonna move a little bit, same spot. Things become, if you're gonna stay in the same spot or barely move, something like a chair becomes quite.
I'm just showing this to Russell. Sorry.
Might be more important than some other things,
Well, there again, there's a difference in my head, right? If I'm on a bushcraft trip, I would love to just keep moving and finding new places to stay and blah, blah, blah. If I'm in a survival situation, I kind of want to stay in the same place and set up some sort of signaling. Right?
I guess it depends on a lot of things, yeah.
Like, unless there's, I don't know, the water is rising or something, and I have to keep pulling back from the lake or something, or there's some big deal, then I would like to. I feel that you're making it easier for a potential search party if you are at your last known location, so that they have some idea of like a ballpark to look in, and you just start finding ways to signal them.
Assuming there's someone looking for you.
Assuming there's someone looking for you.
In a way, you sort of need to define the scenario. Then you can talk about it.
Well, yeah. But I mean, some things are universal, right? You need to eat for 30 days. Well, you need to eat for most of 30 days. You need to have water. Yeah, you need to not freeze to death one night or any nights. Yeah, there are certain things that are baselines.
With respect to this sort of idea of the exit condition, is anyone looking for you? Are you in a place where somebody could be looking for you? If no one finds you, is it never ending?
Yeah, in which case you're really there for the long haul. I just want to say hi to Rain71. Nice to see you. Dr. Sharp is actually asking, or I think asked exactly what we're talking about now. He was asking has anyone asked if you're base camping or traveling for the month? We're sort of figuring that out, because to me, if I'm on a extended bushcraft trip, I would like to be traveling. I'd like to be, but my needs are very different then, because I'm out there, living the life of Riley. Whereas if I'm in a survival situation, I would stay put, bunker up, set signals, try to get, if I hear a passing plane, I don't know, get a fire going, hope to hell I've got some flares and they didn't go bad or something in my back room, kind of thing. It's a very wide open question. Nate's asking, have we as a generation or two lost the common sense and previously taught skill set to just figure it out? Or don't we ever just read about the fools that never made it out to write about it? I keep thinking about this guy from Toronto, 10 years ago or something, who was on the CBC. Well, he wasn't on the CBC. He was talked about on the CBC because he'd watched a bunch of Les Stroud and Bear Grylls videos, marched off into Northern Ontario to, survive, and died. And, Les, I think it was Les or Bear, said, look, we do this as entertainment. Don't watch a bunch of episodes and then march into the woods. Take courses, learn your stuff, read everything.
I believe you're talking about Andrew Trask in the Tomogamy region.
Maybe. I don't remember the name, but
his case was followed fairly closely. You could have read a lot about it on a Michigan long-range search and rescue website that for a long time looked for traces of him. Okay. Eventually found traces of him, and eventually the case was closed. He and his belongings were eventually found.
Okay.
Yeah. That's sort of, it's... Oh, no, Pine Martin's got another name. He's got the name Richard Code, which is further south. I'm talking about Andrew Trask, which is someone else.
I don't know. I just remember it being on the CBC, and like I was driving to work or something or somewhere, and I was listening to this and thinking, well, of course you don't watch these guys for like, I could just imagine this poor guy watching these episodes and like taking notes. This is how I do this. I'm thinking, oh my God. What kind of life did you live to make this an acceptable option?
Although there are some similarities in sort of all the cases that we're talking about, which is it's an individual who didn't tell somebody where they were going, did not have an itinerary, did not have an expected return date, and was thus difficult to locate. And
no way.
All those are problematic. I mean, if no one's looking for you and no one knows where to look for you, and no one's expecting you back.
Well, look what Nate says about the guy was it Richard Code? One day, Pine Martin pointed out to me the exact area where that man went missing. Not as remote as you'd think, but then again, he was sort of on a mission not to be found. Here's the thing. A lot of people have this idea that they're going to commune with nature, right? Like the flower child, the free spirit. I'm going to go commune with nature, strips off her clothes, and then disappears into the woods. Or, I'm going to go and test my mettle against nature. Watch a bunch of freaking Lestrade and march off into the woods. And neither of these are, to put it politically, neither of these are a good way to guarantee yourself of a successful trip or a successful outcome. Right? Your free spirit, who just sort of packs a few of his belongings and disappears into the woods and isn't prepared in his head or in his bag, is playing with fire. And so is the guy who's like, I watched my Bear Grylls. I know what to do. Here I go. It makes me think of, I was watching a Ray Mears episode where he was heading out into the outback and how there's a bar, maybe it's a pub, doesn't matter, a watering hole, shall we say, that's like the last bar before the great desert, and they've got a book there, and like when you're passing by and last gas, last bar, great unknown, you leave your name and your itinerary, your planned itinerary, and when the heck you expect to be back with the barman, and it goes into a book, and if you disappear, at least they've got information.
For example, in the Temagami region, a lot of the canoe area is not in parks, and in fact, they aren't really operating parks with staff. So, one is encouraged to register with the OPP in the town of Temagami when one is taking a long-term trip in the area. I'm sure not everybody does, but it's a good practice because that way, in the event that you don't return in the scheduled period, someone in authority has a record of who you are, when you said you would be back, and in theory, more or less where you were going.
Yeah.
It's a thing that institutional users like camps do pretty well, and maybe private individuals sometimes do, but not always.
Well, and so that's the unwritten part of how to equip yourself for like a month-long survival or camping situation, right? It's not something you bring. It's the groundwork you set with other people when you go. In my opinion, it's remarkably dumb to just disappear into the wild without doing that, without leaving word where you're going, how long you expect to be. If you have, I don't know how satellite phones work, but if there's any way to get in contact with you,
if you got a satellite phone, someone can get in contact with you if it's on and if you have signal. And the same thing for any of the text based devices. In theory, on a long-term basis, they should work as long as you can keep them powered.
Yeah, I got an inReach. I find 3 or 4 days you could leave it on all day if you wanted. After that, you got to start managing the battery pretty good. It does have some GPS functionality, but it's not good. I just use it so my wife, I can tell her, okay, I'm safe, or if there's an issue at home, she can get a hold of me. I turn it on at the end of the day for an hour,
okay,
fire off a message or two, and that's it.
Right. Yeah. Man, the thing with that though is if something happens to you at 3 p.m. rather than end of the day. Hold on, Nate is saying, "Oh, Rain's asking why are we getting so deep?" I think we're kind of staying on the surface here. It's just where we're talking about getting equipped for like a 30-day trip into the woods, and if there's a difference between like just a camping trip versus an actual survival situation. Nate says, we're just getting to the point. If you asked a layperson what they would pack in a trunk in 30 minutes for a month in the bush, what kind of educational background would they have that would help them pack? Well, that gets back to what I was saying at the very beginning here about that seabound list of survival items that the U.S. Coast Guard has, and how woefully wrong I was in that exercise where we all had to sort of put these things in order of preference. A lot of stuff, survival or camping or whatever, it doesn't work in the way common sense would have you think it does. That's not a good way of putting it. Okay, sometimes what you think you need is the opposite of what you actually need. And sometimes things that you just look at and think, why the hell would I need that, become very, very, very important. And that's where just watching some TV episodes and disappearing into the woods or, canoeing into the wherever is probably not the best way to do things. Rain is saying, unless you're on alone, I think I wouldn't do a month alone. I part of me would like to test myself that way, but not. I don't think I would do very well. It's been so long since I've done a real like hard ass camping trip that
I'm pretty confident I couldn't do it. I think food is very hard.
Yeah.
I mean, to consistently provide calories for yourself without having control of what your environment will be, because they'll stick you somewhere and that's your area, and maybe what's available in that area is compatible with your skills to obtain it, or maybe it isn't.
Yeah. Hi, Mallory. Mal's just here to say hi. Yeah, and so to me also, like it's tempting to say I'll just hunt for what I'll shoot a rabbit or whatever, but you can't depend on that. And even if you're freeze drying your food or dehydrating your food or whatever and getting them as small as you can, a month's worth of meals, that's a big ass backpack you're carting around.
It's a barrel. It's a big barrel.
Yeah.
I'll give you, just to give you a practical example, I've been watching Justin Barber's videos. He's been taking these multi-week trips through Newfoundland, which are incredible, by the way. Yeah. He achieves that through resupply. I mean, there is literally only so much food that you can carry. And if you're going to be traveling for more than a couple weeks, it becomes just utterly impractical to do anything else. I mean, could you carry a month of freeze-dried food? Maybe, but you would expend a lot of energy if you had to move around at all.
You could do it if you had a mule. Right? And if you have a mule, then if, everything does go to hell, then you do have an alternate food source.
I should say that's an interesting example because he has a dog and he carries his dog's food as well.
Yeah. Rain says, I don't think the average person could, no matter what skills we have. I don't think the average person could do it either. But I think that, and here's the question. This is what Nate says. So many people used to do months alone in the bush. What have we lost since then? Or have we just gotten lazier or smarter? I
don't think we tolerate hunger very well. I mean, maybe people tolerated hunger better.
I think that as in the last 100 years, the difference between doing that and everyday life has gotten much, much wider. 150 years ago, if you were a farmer or whatever, I mean, you had a house or maybe not, turf hut or something. Your life was a lot closer to that.
Yeah, you lived closer to a bushcraft existence, even in smaller towns. Yeah, because I keep thinking about guys like Nesmik or whatever his name is, Nesmik or So that was
Forrest
interesting.
Gephardt?
Yeah, and how the world they lived in wasn't, there was no AC, there was no central heat. You could, we weren't driving 2 hours to get 16 kilometers to work because of, the highways are too small for all the cars. So, we didn't spend all our time in front of these screens. It was, I think that your common human was probably a whole lot more active than we tend to be these days, just by stint of washing the dishes was manual, doing the laundry was manual, turning crops. You didn't have huge tractors for that kind of stuff. Food was different, much different. Could you see 150 years ago? Would I have to worry about the glycemic index in the bread that I ate? Right? Would I be eating white ass Kleenex bread? What's it called? Palm or whatever the American version of that, that white sandwich bread. My dad always called it Kleenex bread. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would we be, worried about trans fatty acids? Right? Would all of our food come in cellophane wrappers? Would we be eating, those little cakes, those May West? I don't know if they have them outside Quebec, or Joe Louis. You know what I'm talking about? Those little round cakes.
Yeah.
No. Would we have microwave popcorn? No. Food was different. I think that I keep thinking about this, and I keep bringing up some variant of it. I always go back to that show, that I think it was BBC show called Tales from the Green Valley, right? Where they took 5 historians, dropped them on a 14th century British farm, and made them work it for a year.
Yeah, I've seen that. It's on YouTube, right?
I think it is.
They have other versions too, right? They had a World War II version. And
Victorian pharmacy. Yeah,
the one you're mentioning was the best, I believe.
Yeah, it was the first one, I think. And at the end of the day, your standard Joe on a farm, I feel, must have been so much stronger, physically stronger than your average Joe on a 20th century farm. Not because the guy on the 20th century farm is no good, but because the guy in the 14th century had none of the advantages. No tractors, no, if they wanted to build a hut, they couldn't go and buy concrete, right? It was wattle and daub. Like everything took all day.
Yeah.
Everything was physical.
20th century farmers, my grandpa was a farmer, and he was not a big dude, and he was a beast. I wouldn't want to meet him in a back alley.
Right.
But yeah, I agree. When you're doing manual labor your entire life, I mean, those guys also didn't make it to 80 or 90 either. But
this is the people were tougher conclusion, which is probably not an unreasonable conclusion.
Yeah. I just want to pop up a few things that people have said. Rain was saying, "I wish we could, but the New World taught us it's too easy not to do that." She's talking about sort of what we're talking about, I guess. Actually, lifestyle has become so important to us. Nate says fishing rod and snare wire is alternative food source. I was saying before that fishing for me is a non-starter, but if I could see at a glance that fish has white meat inside of it, I would feel a lot more safe fishing for food. Martin says, we now eat in ways that are much less satiating, so most of us feel incapacitated after only a few hours without food. That's a very recent phenomenon owing to our modern diet. That rings absolutely true to me. Trisulated says, corn's in everything, even our meat now. Corn is in everything. Absolutely. There's industrial corn, which goes into like crop feed, animal feed and stuff. And I feel that corn is a nutritional lightweight comparatively.
Whoa, we lost Jess. Hopefully he will return. He was having some computer problems earlier, and hopefully he will get that sorted out and return.
I have a multi-button mouse. And this button right here kills me every time.
Don't touch that button.
I try not to. Rain says I'm moving to a more remote area. Fishing, camping, and so much extra area to explore, but still a home base. Can't do a month, right? And that would make me happy to be in that kind of situation too. Nate says, I agree. Because Russell had said that he would do alone if one of his items was a camper van or something like that.
48 chickens in a deep fryer is a good. It's a good plan.
See, I want an air fryer. Okay.
You're worried about being healthy then? Healthier.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a very, very wide open question, and it's interesting because of where the conversation has gone. It's like 200 years ago, some guy homesteading on the prairies wasn't that far away from what we're talking about. No. I mean, like there was.
So we're back to the question of, I mean, that's a situation where you're planning on being self-sufficient indefinitely.
That is indefinite. But even then, you're not fully self-sufficient, right? Like my hero there, Dick Brennicky, he got shipments of food in on the regular. And these homesteaders probably had the same thing. Do you think they could,
Hopefully they were homesteading somewhere where they thought they'd be able to either raise a crop or animals or both.
But they weren't hammering out their own shovels, right? Do you know what I'm saying?
Probably not in the first instance. Although, once they had a settlement, they probably wanted a blacksmith. But I take your point.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, is survival being lost in the woods for a month, or is survival a month of the time you are living on a subsistence farm? Right?
Well, we very deliberately not defined the boundaries here, so we're talking about a little bit of both, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, the conversation is organically moving in all kinds of directions that I didn't think it was going to go in, which is what I like about this conversation, right? Like, because we started moving more towards like the homesteaders and stuff. So let's just take a minute to think about that, right? If you are homesteading, not as a modern homesteader, you don't have like a John Deere in the back 40. How important is it to be living near a mill? Right? I mean, if wheat is not one of your crops, not important. But then what are you using in place of wheat in your foodstuffs? Or are you having to, get the oxen out or whatever and go to the market at once a month to get that kind of supplies? It's, I don't know. Cliff is asking, does being a mini homesteader count? Well, what we're discovering is that the conversation can go anywhere. I don't really want to go too far into the homesteady part of it because none of us are homesteaders, right? But, as Nate says, no human is self-sufficient indefinitely anymore. If I knew I was heading into the bush for a month, depending on the means of transport, I could absolutely pack for it.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I said when we first started, right? 3 days or 30.
The big difference is the food and the consumables like socks, underwear, maybe your hat.
Well, yeah, I think for 30 days, you're probably not blowing through too many pairs of socks. But yeah.
Yeah, you're probably not bringing a dozen pair of socks, but you might want to bring at least one extra just in case, right? Yeah, because it also depends on if you're on the move or if you're staying put, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Does it?
I'll usually, like on this trip, I'll bring 3 pairs.
3 pair?
Wet pair, sleeping pair, dry pair. I don't know, maybe another one.
Yeah.
But, that's where you can get in trouble. Like, how many pairs of socks? It's just another pair of socks. make that decision 10 times and you just added a couple pounds and 10 liters of whatever. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and every pair of socks is that much less room for something else, like maybe a bug net or something like that,
or food. Yeah.
Yeah. Russell says, my second alone item is a fully functioning and staffed Subway. I think he's talking about the restaurant there. Russell, I'm not sure if you know what the items should really look like for alone, but I kind of like where your headspace is.
Yes, Russell will be spending alone inside of a major Canadian city.
Yeah, exactly. Raid says she has well water, but not bread. Cliff says, I'm not really a homesteader myself, more like an overglorified gardener who just happens to grow a little bit of food. Fair enough. We're currently growing some veggies. We have nothing that's ready for harvest yet, but we're not sticking it to the man or anything. It's not to unhitch from society. It's just to grow our own veg a little bit. I have come to find it very good for the soul to dig in dirt and to look out at the plants that have been growing and to, care for them and touch them and smell them, especially after the rain. Man, greenery smells amazing after the rain. But yeah, I don't see myself as a. It's not even a subsistence farm. It's just a little patch of veggies, some tomatoes, some peppers. We're eating our own produce tonight. Like on Instagram, we grew these. So it's not the same. Here's a question, Dr. Sharp. Talking about socks, if you're walking for the month, how about durability? That's sort of what I was saying, that I would feel safer if I'd packed at least one extra pair of socks. But I do, as Mike was saying, I do make that mistake. I do err on the side of carrying too much. Like I would throw one in and then I'd think I should throw just one more in just in case. I do that all the time. And then I'm picking up my bag for whatever trip I'm going on and thinking, this sucks. I
could give you an example from my own experience. In the summer of 1991, I was part of a team of 6 persons who was involved in building a hiking trail along the east arm of Ferguson Bay, which is the north end of Lake Temagami. We were out for approximately 2 months doing high-calorie energy expenditure activity.
Right.
And I can tell you that we did not want to eat freeze-dried food for 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
So we did resupply. We resupplied roughly every 2 to 3 weeks. In order,
because sometimes you want a big freaking steak, right?
Well,
or a hot dog, even a hot dog.
If you're gonna expend thousands of calories a day doing intensive labor, you need to have a way to bring those calories in. The other thing is that if you're working on a hiking trail, as we were, it's practical to move your base camp a little bit so you don't spend your whole day walking to and from your work site. So over that period of 2 months, we moved our base camp 3 or 4 times. Yeah. And moving with a lot of food would not have been particularly practical either.
Right.
So there's some kind of sweet spot where you have enough that you're not resupplying constantly, but not so much that you're immobile.
Yeah. So you want to have like a week of food at any given time, I think.
Something like that.
Yeah.
The other thing, of course, is magnitude. I mean, the more people you have, obviously, the more you have. The more labor you have available to you, but you have to offset that with the fact that 2 months of food for 6 people all at once would be a lot of food.
Very large mound of food.
Yeah,
it's like a bare wonderland.
That's a huge amount.
Nate says, "I'm pretty sure that Subway stuff isn't actually food aside from the pickles." Nate,
the bread is not real bread. That's very true.
I think you're not wrong. I think that when the zombie apocalypse comes, I will gladly eat out an entire Subway store before dying of starvation. But I tend not to err on the side of Subway when I'm looking for something to eat. We're not, and it's funny because I originally thought Nate had said, I'm pretty sure that Subway staff isn't actually food, aside from the pickles, which is why I was talking about a zombie apocalypse. Simon actually says kind of what you're talking about, Tenenbaum. Sounds like doing the Appalachian Trail. It used to be a lot of planning, sending packages to each post office. A lot of people who are through hikers, in fact, probably all of them have resupplies at regular intervals.
If you're going to spend, I mean, that's, doing the trail. If you're going to walk all day, how much do you really want to carry?
Nothing. And by the way, that's a lot longer than a month.
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't want to have like a, 60-kilogram bag on my back if I'm walking all day.
No, you'd never make it.
No way. Rain agrees with me that greenery smells great after the rain. Oh, moving to Frontenac, Ontario. 5,000 lakes to explore. That sounds amazing.
Nice part of the world.
Yeah, I've never been there, but I hear it's amazing. An hour from Kingston. Mark says he's paddled in the Frontenac area. The Frontenac canoe shop, forget the name, are just awesome.
Puzzle Lakes. Well, Puzzle Lake is right there. It's not that far from Kingston.
Yeah. I'm guessing that if you're spending your month on water or near water, it's also very different than if you're spending a month in mountainous area. Right?
Yeah, like if you're in northern, Muskoka area and north, like there's just water everywhere.
So, like, if you are the type to be able to fish and reliably catch, then that'll do you very well there. Whereas it sure as hell won't do you as well, somewhere deep in the Rockies.
And it solves the biggest problem you would have if you weren't, which is available, potable, fresh water.
Yeah, also very good point. Yeah.
If you don't have that, things are going badly pretty fast.
That might be your biggest issue, in fact. Water. Yeah. It's tempting to say that, look, if you're going to go into the back 40, you should know your plants. You should be trained to forage. You should be, and it's like, it's tempting to say all these things, but then you're essentially taking camping away from most of the people who like to camp, right? Like I'm not trained to forage. I have a few books, but I don't feel safe enough to depend on them. I don't want to go that route until someone has shown me, this is a baneberry. Don't eat that. It'll fuck you up. Oops.
Yeah, my wild edible knowledge is not good. It's not something that particularly interests me, and I figure if that's what's going to keep me alive, I'm probably already dead anyways. If I'm in that situation where I need to eat berries and whatever, I got bigger problems. So,
but I'd like to learn that stuff because I love the process of learning kind of arcane knowledge. I'm so impressed by people who can just stand next to a copse of trees, glance and say, edible, don't touch that. That's that kind of tree. That's that kind of tree. Oh, by the way, the seeds of yada are edible. And I just know this stuff. It's the same as like I've known a couple of old time sailors who, can stand there on your porch and think, tomorrow it's going to be like blah and be absolutely correct just from looking at the sky. I love that. I love that kind of the ease of knowledge that comes from years and years and years of learning and practicing. And not...
And I was going to say, and a certain degree of stability in the environment. I mean, I think that even if you're an expert, I think that's starting to get harder as the environment in general becomes more unpredictable.
Yeah. Here's something that Nate is saying. It's all predicated on the 30-day situation. Am I driving a car to the end of a logging road? Easy. Paddling to an island? Doable. Through hiking somewhere for 30 days? Nope. Yeah, I agree. Because of what I was just saying. If you're paddling, like where Mike was saying, and what you were saying, Tenenbaum, potable water and ready food source. If you're good with the fishing, it just changes everything. Whereas if you're halfway up a mountain and you got a 30-06 in your hand and hoping to hell that a mountain goat or whatever is going to come around a corner, you may go hungry.
Well, so to use a topical example, I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm watching season 8 alone, and many of the participants there have brought a bow and arrow on the premise that they will be greatly advantaged in the event that they happen to be able to, shoot some grouse or
a bunny.
luckily, possibly deer. And obviously the season isn't over, but by the time it's over, I think a few of them will succeed to some degree, and many of them will not.
Mm-hmm.
And presumably they're all pretty good hunters or pretty accurate shot with their bow. It's just, I think there is an element of chance to relying on that sort of thing.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
Get more or less lucky.
Yeah, absolutely. Luck comes into it in such a big way. And it feels like it comes into it more when you're hunting something rather than fishing something. But I'm saying or even
snaring something. Yeah.
Or even snaring something. But I'm saying that with very, very little knowledge of fishing or snaring. And, only about 5 seasons of hunting under my belt. So I take nothing that I say as gospel truth. I do want to say hi to Rebel with an O, who popped up in the chat. I don't think I've ever seen that name in the side chat, but I think I've seen that avatar before. Have you had a different name before? Or maybe it's just very similar to an avatar I've seen. Dr. Sharp says, I'm planning to hike the Ozark Trail and will try to carry 3 to 4 days of food with food caches along the way where the trail crosses roads. Estimated time, 3 weeks. If you're on the move and this is a planned trip rather than a survival trip, it seems to me that food caches are the way to go. What do you do if you show up for your food cache and someone's taking it, though? Right?
I think in this situation, he's probably talking about general stores and whatever.
Yeah. Maybe, yeah.
The Ozark Trail, that's in southern U.S., right? It was probably not 3 weeks of walking anywhere where you can't cross a road, town, down there. But I could be wrong. But you'd have to be a real bad person to find a intentionally stored food
and take it. Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
I'm actually gonna head out now, guys.
All right.
I get up early, so
have a good one, mister.
Talk to you guys.
All right. Oh, which reminds me, I haven't put the invite in the side chat in a while. Man, it was good to have Mike on. It's been so long since he's been on for this channel.
Yeah, good to see him.
Yeah. Woodland
Caribou was exciting. I hope he has a good time.
Oh, he's gonna have a blast. I know it. I absolutely know it. He was talking to me about. He was talking about it. I don't know how to put this sentence together. I'm gonna try that again. He was talking about. He was telling me about it in the green room on a live stream we were doing on my other channel, and it sounds amazing. I don't believe it took me so long to get that sentence out.
I think it's a bucket list kind of trip for sure.
Yeah, for me it definitely is. Oh no, the doctor's saying he's hiding food along the way. Interesting. Rain's asking if I've ever spoken to Camper Christina. Yes, on Facebook I've spoken to her a few times. I like her a lot. I think she's doing some cool stuff. And whenever she pops, like whenever I see the little note pop up that she's doing a Facebook Live, I'm like, I'm clicking on that because she gets to paddle around some really nice gonna say territory, but that's not really it. But some really nice countryside. Yeah. But I think Nate, he brought up some interesting stuff that, like, he would want 48 chickens in a deep fryer. I think a lot of us, like, if it's a survival situation, you're gonna miss coffee, right? You're gonna wish you had a hamburger. And I think that if you're in a 30-day survival situation, which, as I always say, is camping by mistake, headspace is such a big, it's a wild card.
Well, so here, just along the lines of coffee or camping by mistake, here's an interesting thought, or at least it is to me. If you happen to be a person who takes medication, which is an ever-increasing proportion of us, especially if you're older,
Yeah.
how much are you carrying? Do you have 30 days worth? Maybe.
But likely not.
Will you do? Is your situation, and of course this is different for everyone, will you be able to function once you no longer have your medication?
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
God help you if you're diabetic,
Mm.
or if you're on heart medication. Yeah. Yeah. Russell says he'll miss his case of beer and bottle of rum.
And I mean, coffee is not quite the same, but it's close in the sense that if you're a person who is habituated to having that caffeine in the morning, and after a certain point you don't have it, I guess, well,
Getting a withdrawal
many
headache
have,
and trying to...
many people have gone through this. There's a period of adjustment where you're, just not as effective as you were before for at least a little while.
Yeah, because you're dealing with raging withdrawal symptoms. Rebel with an O says saw is better than an axe in the Boreal. I bring an axe anyway because I like it's my favorite tool, but I always try to bring an axe, a saw, and a knife, and a backup knife, and backup socks. But in certain instances, yeah, a saw is just a better. It just makes more sense than an axe. I always bring an axe anyway, though. Yes, Rain, I would absolutely do my own dehydrated food. I'm looking into it right now anyway because I want to do a camping trip this summer, paddling, and I think that is the way to do the food for something like that. Anything I can do to reduce the amount of weight I'm carrying if I'm not car camping. Car camping, who cares? I'm gonna bring burgers. I'm gonna bring steaks. I'm gonna bring chicken breasts. I'm gonna bring bread. I'm gonna bring a gas stove, right? If I'm doing more backcountry camping, though, weight is a big deal for a guy like me who's almost 50, and for guys who are over my age. I want to carry as little weight as possible, and dehydrating your food is an excellent way.
And arguably, it's a big factor for anyone if you're talking about carrying weeks worth of food.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's just no other way to do it. I've certainly dehydrated my own in the past, and there are excellent arguments for it. You can produce something of better quality than you can buy commercially at a lower cost.
The cost is a big freaking issue, man. Like those mountain houses and stuff, no matter how good they are expensive.
Or backpacker's pantry or any of the stuff that's designed for that use. It is expensive stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Rebel with an O says single malts work quite well. I definitely agree. I'm definitely a single malt type of guy. Hey, Tenenbaum, I picked up. Did I tell you I picked up a Swedish whiskey not so long ago?
Yeah, I saw you mention it. I actually looked. I actually messaged you. Maybe you didn't see it. The brand is called High Coast, and it's named after the High Coast of Sweden, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site because it is the tallest coastline in the world. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. I really would like to go there sometime. And they make a wide range of products in addition to the one that you bought, and they look good. I'm going to have to check that out the next time I attend the government liquor monopoly that we have here.
The one I picked up was actually my second choice. There are, I think, 3 different ones available in Canada, and I didn't have the money for more than one, and so I picked up the one that I figured would be a bigger draw on my whiskey channel.
I'm going to try to get my hands on a bottle of that.
Yeah.
You can share notes.
Yeah, I can't wait. But yes, so Rebel with an O, I agree. Single malt works very well. Simon Fauché says jerky. I think he's not calling me a jerky. I think he's wondering if I'm dehydrating jerky.
Definitely jerky.
Jerky, yeah, totally. For 2 reasons. 1, protein. 2nd, because it's delicious. And I'm not really good at making jerky yet. I haven't really made a kick-ass jerky yet. But there's a smoker near where my mother-in-law lives on the North Shore, and their jerky is not the glorified Carnotzel that you can buy. You know what I'm saying? Like those beef sticks or the packets of over chemical jerky. And no, man, this is real smoked, strips of meat. So good, so delectable.
Sounds lovely.
Absolutely.
Yes, a smoker would be the way to do it. I mean, you can't beat that in terms of flavor.
Yeah, absolutely. A little salty. Does make me want to, chug-a-lug my water supply.
As Mark says, jerky's fine as long as you have ample water.
Ample water, yeah. Everyone say bye to Dr. Sharp. Nice to have you around. Some good comments tonight. But yeah, because I am very suddenly on a highly restricted sodium diet. Man, this makes me sound old. Sorry, guys. I have to find ways to dehydrate and keep my food relatively unspoiled without salting the crap out of it.
I was gonna say the recipe I gave you when we discussed this last time. I guess you could go with low sodium soy, or low sodium teriyaki.
Even low sodium soy is still very, very sodium-y. Hey, Russell.
Hey.
How's it going,
Hello.
Bubbles?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can.
And because Russell's here, I will have one more dram from this bottle.
One more. Oh, that felt great. Can you do that again?
It sounds like the live stream drinking game. If Russell appears, take a drink.
I feel like I'm responsible for the topic tonight, even though pardon me while I do a Jess. All I've done tonight is just joke and chat.
That's okay. That's okay. You're keeping the chat lively. It's actually a good chat tonight. Everyone's sort of saying cool things, although no one has said how hard is it to backpack a chest freezer full of food, like Russell has. What I like about Russell is that he always keeps the chat sort of bubbling along, whether it makes sense or not. It's always kind of interesting.
I don't know if that's always a good thing. Like I was on. Has Dennis hasn't been here tonight, has he?
No.
He usually drops
I don't
in.
know how late his live stream went, but
His
we still know when we started here.
So it's his season 2 finale, and
Yeah.
I was making jokes all night, so I don't know if he appreciated that or you know.
Okay, here's a question.
Like his live streams are a little more like. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead with your question.
His live streams are a lot more structured than mine. He spends a lot of time on his streams though. Until I'm in a different family situation, I just can't compete in terms of keeping everything nice and organized.
I would describe his approach as businesslike.
Yeah,
That's what I was going to say.
Bad thing.
Actually, that's what I was going to say. I mean, he runs as like a business, and my interruptions in chat he might see as just being a bit of a dick. Whereas Jess's live streams are a lot more chillaxed,
dick friendly,
chillaxed, and we can have fun and stuff.
Right. Chris Garland asked an interesting question. Hypothetically, and by the way, I would like to thank Chris Garland for doing what I asked. He put question in capitals and then a colon and then the question, so it's all right. Poop.
Is that the first time tonight?
Yeah. Hypothetically, how long could the average person survive an unexpected woodland survival situation with all the usual camping and fishing gear?
I almost want to respond to Chris's question with a question or clarification, which is, Does the average person have good judgment?
Well,
I got a story for you. It's not my story though. If you want to hear it.
yes. Just let me put 2 comments up, and then I definitely want to hear it. Rebel with an O says 30 days. Water means to fish. Knowledge of edible flora. Hunting last resort. Yeah, I agree. Hunting is a last resort because it's so much harder. Knowledge of edible flora, I definitely wish I had.
Me too.
And Simon says, guess would be between 3 and 4 weeks. Rebel brings in a photovoltaic charger, very very legit. That's definitely important for me.
And something you're going to charge?
Well, I mean, I need to be Instagramming the whole thing, right?
No, I'm not getting anything from this. It's not charging.
But yeah, tell us your story.
I read the story a while back, and I'm not sure if I can tell it properly because I haven't thought about it in a long time. But there was a guy who did lots of hikes and lots of stuff in the wilderness, and he often get hired by people who are just wanted to go on day trips or week-long trips, even just kind of as a guide, as a scout, not a scout, a guide kind of thing. Did it all the time, and he frequented an outfitter shop in town, and often talked to the owner there, who said you would always tell people, hey, if you have the right gear, you can last, this is him talking. If I had the right gear, I could last out in the wilderness indefinitely. And so this guy, this guide thought, yeah, probably could. I mean, he runs this shop. He's pretty knowledgeable. And then the owner of this outfitter shop eventually said to this guide, hey, I want to do this week-long thing, test out some gear. Can you come with me and stuff? So he said, yeah, sure. So they both went out in the wilderness, and this guy, the owner of the shop, was like dying. He's like horribly out of shape, and he starts leaving stuff like socks because he's got all this gear with him that he thinks is really, really important. Gear like a GPS and I don't know what it all is, like fish finder,
Yeah.
This technical stuff. So he's leaving like socks on the trail because he's just dying. He can't carry it anymore, and he's leaving like underwear, and he's leaving like this wool blanket that he brought, and and the guy's like, you said you could live out here indefinitely. I guess you're incorrect.
Well, the thing is, I feel that the louder someone is about their prowess, the more they're compensating for something. Like in my small amounts of experience, a lot of the loudest people.
I don't think he was compensating for anything. He was just like one of those armchair quarterbacks, right? You watch a lot of YouTube videos and you think, oh yeah, how hard can that be?
But I did sleep in a Holiday Inn Express last night.
Roughing it. I roughed it. I had a breakfast of what do they call those breakfasts? Damn it. That would have been
Continental?
Yes. And I had a continental. I struggled through a continental breakfast.
Yeah.
Ruined the joke.
It's okay. Rebel with an O is wondering what season we're talking about. Because he was saying if we're doing this in the dead of winter, forget it. Yeah, well, dead of winter brings a whole bunch of new things to the fore, and it's too bad that Mike Morton is gone now because he does a lot of deep winter camping. But yeah, but like
winter would be very hard. I mean,
winter would be brutal
unless you could successfully ice fish. You're not likely to see a lot in the way of animals. So,
you know what? I like the idea of doing winter. Is if you can prepare for the cold, both day and night. I think winter's awesome because like I would die in summer because there's so many bugs, deer flies, and mosquitoes. I would just be like, okay, kill me now. Mm-hmm. But winter is great because there's tracks everywhere. You go out in fresh snow, there's tracks everywhere, and you can see things like the underbrush is gone, right? Yeah. You can see a creature moving in the woods way far away, way different than in the summertime. And you can see stuff against the snow like crazy. I've spotted creatures way off, like fishers, a couple 100 meters away, and thought, wow, there's no way I would have seen that in the summertime. If you're, hunting or whatever.
And this is the second person tonight to mention wiping your butt with a wet fish. What's going on here, guys?
Somebody went back in chat.
What's going on?
Would it work? Okay, would it work? I don't know.
No, yuck, first of all.
Okay, you take a fish. It's struggling to breathe. It's doing that.
Okay. All right. Well, it's funny because Rain was asking why we're getting so deep earlier. It's nice to see that we can still keep it light and tasteful.
You got to watch
This whole
those.
conversation's taking a strange Frank Zappa-esque.
What are the things that pop up? The fins, the prickly fins. You got to watch those when you're doing it.
Are those sunfish?
Sunfish, rock bass, or any kind of bass has them. That's why when you're taking the hook off, you slide your hand down the hand down the fish so you get it flat.
Right.
What are they called? I forget now.
Spines? Are they spines?
Now you're gonna make me look it up.
Of course I am.
The screen's being really weird tonight.
Yeah, I think they're called spines. Because I'm so good at the whole fish terminology. I'm highly knowledgeable.
I guess they're dorsal fins.
Dorsals? Yeah, but all fish have dorsal fins, right?
Oh,
well, unless you're a flounder, I guess maybe.
Okay, so a spiny dorsal fin as opposed to like a soft dorsal fin.
Right. All right.
I didn't mean to derail us answering Chris's question, by the way. It just, when we talk about an average person with equipment, I guess this comes to the point that Russell's anecdote is mentioning, which is, does the person know how to use it? Do they actually have experience living in the woods?
Yeah, which is what Russell and I were both sort of dealing with coming at it from two different angles, right? Like the people who are like, yeah, man, I know everything, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, right. You're exactly the type who's seen a bunch of Les Stroud or Ray Mears videos and you think you know what's going on. Which means you're not the guy I want to depend on. And perch? Hey, can I eat perch? Is that a whitefish? Yeah, that's a whitefish, so I could actually eat that. Simone says, judgment is optional if you intend on not getting back. Fair point. Fair point. Yeah, I think that, the subject tonight is, how would you equip yourself for 30, to get through 30 days in the woods? But it really does seem to me that your headspace is the starting point. Pack yourself some good knowledge and part of that is the knowledge that you're going to get through this. Because once you start getting frozen because of the stress, you're in a much worse place. Because if your head is still working, you're still coming up. You're still problem solving. As soon as you start to freeze up, forget it. And that's why they say, look, if you find that you're lost, sit down, take a drink of water. Right? That you're interrupting the sort of the fight or flight mechanism immediately. You're rehydrating just in case you've been dehydrating. And you've got a moment to sit and think, okay, now what? So important. That's the place to start, I think, is your head.
I often wonder about Joe Robinet when he was on Alone. And he lost his fire starter and he pretty much gave up. Just gave up. And I thought, well, there are other ways of starting fire. You didn't even try it. You just sat there for a while.
But I wonder I don't think he would have quit now. Right? That's a long time ago in his career. And I think that now he might have done that.
Now he would. He's taken so much grief over it.
It's interesting because even then he had a lot of experience with friction fire, but that Vancouver Island is a very, very moist environment.
Yeah.
So relying on friction fire is very, very scary. And I think it sort of speaks to maybe where his mindset was, which is now I can't win.
Mm-hmm.
Which maybe isn't the same thing as now I can't stay here for a few days.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe he could have stuck it out and but I mean he can he's never talked about that too much that I know of. But the impression I have is that once he felt like he couldn't possibly win, then the exercise doesn't merit the discomfort.
Right.
Yes.
He tried to explain it. He did actually do a video on it, and he tried to explain it, but I don't know. He could have tried something. He could have tried it for a while.
Although it speaks to an interesting question, and maybe it is well related to the topic, which is, one of the things you are going to need to manage to be out for 30 days or whatever is the ability to recover from mistakes, to deal with disappointment, to maintain an even keel, to say, well, that didn't work. I'll try something else. And this goes back to what Jesse said. It's about attitude.
Yeah.
Jesse, I keep plugging the movie The Edge for you, and I'll plug it again.
Right.
There's this nice line in it. When people get into this situation, what do they die of? They die of shame.
Right.
Which is to say, they give up because they get wrapped up in this thing of, well, what did I do to get myself in this situation? Instead of thinking about, well, what can I do now to benefit my situation, you get in this destructive loop. Saying, well, I made an error, and that error is costly. And instead of focusing on the positive and the practical, you're focused on the past, which you can't do anything about.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I just want to say, Mal, congrats on buying the new boat. Congrats on buying a boat. I definitely want to hear more about that at some point. Mark says lots of oats, beans, and rice, and avoid portages. Oats, beans, and rice sounds like a pretty good way to get your starch and your proteins up for sure. And then Rayan says, I don't think this is Joe Robinette she's talking about. I don't think he gave himself a good enough chance on Alone. He could have made it. But I think that's kind of what we were talking about, like the ability to bounce back from a mistake like that. The thing is, that was a long time ago for Joe, right? He didn't have as much experience as he does now. And that's why I was saying I don't think he would have given up quite as quickly today. I think that what Tenenbaum was saying is very true. Like friction fire on Vancouver Island. I mean, I've been to Vancouver Island. Okay, I've got a sister on Vancouver Island. I tell you what, that is a wet island. So like I think that fire starting is always going to be a little trickier in that kind of environment. But I think that if he did it now and he lost his ferro rod, might not have given up.
So here's the general point. I think you have a plan, and then something happens, and you can't execute that plan anymore. So what do? Well, I guess you have to make a new plan.
Yeah.
The argument there is maybe with great effort and difficulty, he gets a fire going once, and then henceforth just tries to keep it burning all the time. And then that's a different plan, and maybe it's not the one he envisioned, or one that he thought that was reasonable, or whatever.
And that's a very primeval approach to fire, right? Like way back when fire was still new, you get if you had a fire going, then you would get yourself a horseshoe fungus or something and stick it in there so that you had an ember with you when you went elsewhere. Mark says, I've kayak camped on the Pacific coast in winter, logs wet to the core, no fires unless you bring dry wood. It's very, very tough. Rain, going back to Alone was sick, but Jim and Ted were amazing. Those are the Bairds, right? The Baird brothers?
Yeah.
Man, there's a lot of Bairds in the woods. There's Jim, there's Ted, there's Heather. Is she married to one of them or something?
Yeah.
It's like my Instagram is full of Bairds doing foresty things. I'm like, there's got to be...
Two couples.
There's two couples, okay. They're the brothers that one from... Yeah, I get it. But yeah, like out there, you're talking about rainforest. So like, I don't blame Joe for...
Yeah, I don't begrudge him from deciding that his chances of winning were low, and he would rather be with his family.
With his family, exactly. Yeah.
I think that's a judgment that no one can can deny he has the right to make.
Yeah, and bear in mind, I'm also sitting here in my basement, never having been good enough to get onto a loan, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna tear any of those people down. Even someone who dropped out right at the beginning. No, at least they got on. I would never be able to get on.
And also, it is a game, and you can choose whether or not to play.
Yeah, very true.
I think for him now, given that he sort of has his career wrapped up in it, it was a game with fairly high stakes for him.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, that's.
I've never thought that that there was something wrong with him making the choice he made.
No, because he got to go home to his family. But and as I said, I'm sitting here in urban Montreal.
I can barely start a friction fire under the best possible conditions. I don't think there's any chance I could start a friction fire in a temperate rainforest.
With the stress of
never
being,
happened.
No.
Something would have to get struck by lightning. That would be how I would obtain fire.
Yeah.
Quest for Fire.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. I need to watch that movie again for like the 100th time.
The best part, of course, was the three guys in the tree.
Right.
One guy tries a leaf, and then the next thing, like all the leaves are gone in the tree.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my favorite.
A true classic of the genre. But yeah, I don't know. Like, it's an interesting thing to think about from the safety of my basement. Like if I was stuck there.
I'm completely honest. I'm always making jokes like, oh yeah, I could completely survive out there in the wilderness in my cabin.
Yeah.
That's how I like to camp.
Like you successfully do on the day-to-day.
Yeah, as long as I got my wood stove, and all my internet and
yeah.
I try to survive with full access to modern amenities. That's challenging enough for me.
Dude, I try to survive having two daughters. One at 2.5 and one at 9. Every day, every morning, it's like, oh God, okay.
2.5.
Let's do this. Yeah.
Our boys went through terrible 2s, terrible 3s, terrible 4s. You know what? It didn't stop.
Right.
It just kept going on. Now they're in their terrible 22s and terrible 25s, and
yeah. Raina is saying we need to go out and explore. I think we definitely do, and especially as someone who is so trapped by his existence right now, I feel that very strongly. I need to get out there and explore. I think it really does your head some good to be out there. Chris says, haven't seen it, but wouldn't there be the added barrier of having to desalinate water? Yeah, on Vancouver Island, if you're right on the coast, yeah, absolutely.
You have access to a freshwater creek.
Yeah, because otherwise,
or collecting rainwater if it's the rainy season, it's pretty viable. But
yeah, and there's a real danger when it comes to this stuff. You know how in all the survival books, there's that thing, you dig a trench or a pit in the ground, put a can in the bottom, and then you put like a mylar or something over the top and let it drip. Have you any idea how long you have to let that drip before you'll have a can full of water to drink?
It depends on if the sun is shining, if it's a hot day.
Right? So if you're depending on that for your fresh water, you're
like
going
drip,
to die.
Drip.
Yeah.
Drip. Got to get my 2 liters any day now.
I've done the West Coast Trail, and the strategy is you collect water at the creeks, and you plan carefully for the distances between the freshwater creeks, because until you reach the next one, you're not getting more water.
Yeah.
Mallory, come join us, Mallory. You've got 15 minutes.
She said she had to edit, so I'm not really bugging her about it too much. But you know what I will do?
No,
I'll drop the invite down there just in case. Just in case.
She said she was done her edit, so she can get in.
She's done her edit. Yeah, my computer is still corrupting my my video
you know what?
libraries. So
I was
I'm
a
not,
cool dad, but you know what? Kids don't care if you're cool.
they sure don't, because I'm a
You're
cool
not.
dad.
You're not cool. You're not cool in their eyes.
Yeah.
Every single one of their friends is cool, but you're not cool.
Yeah. Absolutely.
If I may vent for a moment.
Yeah.
How about this? The one guy in Alone. I haven't seen very many seasons of Alone. I don't know what I watched, but I remember one season I watched. One guy, he had his spot, and he's like, "I see bears. I see bears. I see bears. I'm out of here. Get me the
Right.
hell out of here." It's like day one. It's like,
Well, if you're surrounded by bears, it's like,
I've
holy
seen
crap.
bears.
Now, here's a question. Okay, so what's the conceit of Alone? Because is that what we're talking about here tonight? Do you have to survive as long as you can?
No. We should get back to the original topic.
Okay. Mallory just came up with it with a BS reason why she can't. Camera's
I know,
not set
right?
up. What the hell? It's okay. We can have fun without her.
Mallory's the only person in the world who can't plug in her phone. Sorry, guys. I don't know how to do it. Oh, wait, I've actually got it right here. So let me... guys, I can't... Oh, the cable's not long enough. Oh, the cable's not long enough. It's over
Maybe
here.
she's just being polite.
If I
Not
just...
saying,
If I throw my
I don't wanna.
Here we go. Nope, can't do it, guys. Oh, sorry.
Russell. Nice boat, Mel.
Oh, do you have a picture?
Yeah. Can I show it?
I'm actually going to plug in my phone now.
It's sort of a...
Oh, it's a pontoon boat? No.
Yeah, no, it's a straight up fishing boat, little motorboat. Outboard motor.
Okay.
Little canopy. Very nice.
Yeah. Rebel with an O says, skip the dishes, deliver us to bush territory. That would change your survival situation, wouldn't it? Can you Uber me a couple of sandwiches?
I want to drone the dishes. No, wait. Drone the dishes?
Have we talked about delivery by drone before, Russell?
Yeah, every
I
single
feel
time.
like we have.
Yeah.
Rain says it gets scary on the series alone. I have only ever seen, I think, one episode or a few little bits of episodes. We cut the cable years ago, so there's all kinds of stuff that I just haven't seen. Mallory says Ben has the charger upstairs. Mine on the computer sort of sucks. Maybe I can find another one. BRB.
Yeah, Jess. I can't watch Alone because I don't have anything that shows that series. Or
Yeah,
I got
me neither.
Netflix, I got Amazon, and I got YouTube, and nothing that.
Me too. Okay, check this out. This has nothing to do with what we're talking about tonight, so I'll be very fast. I have Netflix, I have Amazon, I have YouTube, I have Disney Plus, and I'm paying for all these except YouTube because I decided to stop paying for cable, where I have to pay for an entire package for the one channel I want. There's only one show I want on Disney Plus. Right? There's only two shows on Amazon. Well, I pay for that for Prime no matter what. But it's like we're replacing the cable package idea with entire streaming services. Not what we're talking about tonight. I'm just
crazy.
venting.
It's crazy. It's crazy how things are changing, isn't it?
Yeah. Chris says, Russell, that reminded me of the plastic wrap commercial. I just can't do it. Proceeds to tangle plastic wrap everywhere. I don't know that. I've granted because I don't watch a lot of... Hi, Mal.
Aha.
I'm familiar with it.
You're so loud.
Mal's here.
Hi.
Russell, I don't want you to feel too down or anything, but she does not have bangs.
She's never gonna. She will always
No.
be banged.
I am
Okay.
always going to be bangless, for sure. I figured out I got this new mic, and it's got the same plug as my phone, so.
Ah.
Oh, you got a Rode. Expensive.
Yeah, I got the one with both of them, so I'll have fun
Yeah.
with that.
I should get that. This is what my mic is. It's also a Rode, of course. The Video Mic Pro Plus, I think. Plus, yeah. It's a nice mic.
Mallory, I like that you're taking this whole YouTube thing very seriously. I I know you. So you guys probably know, like YouTubers will come along and they start a YouTube channel and they start making videos and they're like, oh, why am I not getting more subscribers? Why doesn't Russell from Raspberry Rock help me get more subscribers? I'm like, you get your own subscribers. You've got to work at your craft. You got to make better videos. You got to, try and get better equipment. Mallory is one of those people that works on her craft and, she makes a bit of money. She spends a bit of money and, but gets better equipment. Mal, you will overtake me in subscribers one day, and it won't take that long because you really, really work, and I really, really don't. So,
Well, thank you. I try, but I don't know. It's slow. It's slowed down quite a bit. So my French channel's doing really good though.
Oh, that's cool. That's good.
Yeah.
My growth
paid
is
more
slow.
than my English channel last month. So
My problem is that when I'm really, really regular about uploading, I do really well, and then when I'm not really regular, everything tapers off.
yeah,
The algorithm demands that you feed it.
Yep.
I just post it when it's good and ready. I don't have a schedule or anything.
No. I for a long time I was posting every Friday at 9:30. I'd like to get back to that, but with my computer corrupting all my video libraries,
Oh no.
I've decided to just give up until there's a new computer in the house because I'm losing so much footage. It's infuriating.
Oh, no. I'm sorry
So-
to hear that. That sucks.
Yeah.
Bummer.
One day I will have a new computer.
So I came in at the end, and you guys are. What's the topic exactly?
Well,
Oh.
we were talking about booze.
There was a topic?
We're talking about how to get equipped for, or what you need to sort of survive 30 days, give or take, in the bush kind of deal.
In the
and
summer?
We
Well-
didn't really say.
we sort of left it open. We talked about, we didn't really dive too deep into any specific season. There are some ideas that, winter could be easier on certain levels. Well, Russell was saying, because at least you're not being eaten and driven crazy by bugs.
But then you need a lot more calories just to live.
Yes, definitely. How long is the longest that you guys ever survived in the woods, in the bush?
Well, here's the thing.
30 minutes.
Dude, I did 45. No, I did 3 days survival. Like, the cadets dropped me into the bush and I had to make it back to a no, I didn't have to make it back. I had to survive for, I think it was 3 days. And they gave me like an orange, a needle, and a pocket knife or something.
And you were by
You know.
yourself?
Yeah.
Wow, that's more hardcore than my cadets were.
Well, it was during one of the summer camps. It wasn't like the normal weekend trip.
Wow.
But
yeah.
if you're asking how long was the longest I survived for, 3 days. I was on a little island with a shit ton of blueberries.
Wow.
So it's like, sweet. And then after like a day of eating nothing but blueberries, I was
Toilet
like,
paper?
not sweet. Took me a long, long time to get back into blueberries.
No,
Sandsock
no.
is asking, what's cadets? I guess cadets is the youth wing of, in my case, the Air Force. In Mallory's case, I think you were your Army, right?
Army. Yeah.
Or the youth wing of the Navy. 13 to 18. Ages 13 to 18.
Yeah. I did it from 13 to 15, I think. I got out early.
But I mean, so if you're asking when was the longest that I did a full-on survival, it was that.
Yeah,
Like I'd
it was
also
20
like 24 hours.
Yeah, 24 hours was my max.
Yeah. In my regular squadron, we did like a survival weekend here or there, but it was the whole squadron.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how we were too. We did a full week, but we had like ration packs and stuff, and we had to eat grasshoppers and salamanders and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Salamanders.
Yeah.
I would have taken a grasshopper over an island full of blueberries by the time I was at the end of my 3 days. Let me tell you.
They're not that bad, actually, the grasshoppers. It's really
Really?
not that bad. Yeah. Take off the feet and then just eat the body.
Yeah,
It's not that bad.
lose the legs.
You don't
Yeah.
want to squirm it around in your mouth?
We actually boiled them.
Boiled them.
Oh,
Yeah.
Interesting.
you
Okay.
took the easy route.
Wasn't that bad.
Sensox says it's like Civil Air Patrol. I don't know. I don't know what the Civil Air Patrol is. But I mean, like,
It's like
if you're in a,
Boy Scouts on steroids.
yeah, if you're in a Commonwealth country, then each of your armed forces has a youth wing, which is their cadets. Air, Army, or Sea.
Yeah, that's where Ben and I met, actually, and now
Yeah.
we're together years later.
That's funny. My buddy Ray used to teach survival in the military, and he was one of those guys he was an officer, and he was one of the guys who said, "Okay, we're placing you on this island, almost like what you said, Jess, for 3 days. Go."
Yeah.
And it was really not quite about can you survive on the island, is just to know that you're not going to die on the island.
Right.
Just understand that you might get really, really hungry, but you're not going to die. It's kind of it's more of a mental thing than can you survive?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They never did that to us here.
No.
Maybe because we just, I don't know. Maybe it was just not our. Maybe I wasn't past. Like, what age were you when you did that one?
I was almost out. It was my last summer.
Oh, okay, yeah. See, that's why I didn't go that far.
Yeah, it was at junior leadership school or something like that, and
Okay.
at that was at Lac-Sebastien, which is a cadet camp attached to Bagotville Air Force, Canadian Forces Base Bagotville, and the survival school was there as well, and they did some hardcore stuff. Let me tell you,
Yeah.
that was like I kind of wish I'd been gung-ho enough to do that as a kid. But I connected with a lot of this stuff only much, much later. Because as a kid, I was too busy doing the regular ghetto kid stuff.
Yep.
The regular,
Yeah. Oh, your mic's still doing that thingy.
It is when you
I
get
think
too
it's
close
probably
into it.
StreamYard. It just every so often it does that thing.
I think it's
But
just he does this thing. Is it really loud right now? Did it
Yeah.
peak?
A little bit, maybe.
Hey there, people.
But then
How's
he's
it
all
going?
soft.
It doesn't do it when you want it to.
Welcome to Hearts of Space. All right,
It
so
it
what I'll
never
do
used
is
to do that.
I'll talk big when I'm back here, but as I get closer to the mic, I'll ASMR you guys to pieces.
There you go.
Turned into Venus flytrap there.
Yeah. Jesse and the ASMR goddesses. Hold on. Need to bring chocolate to coat them with. I think he's talking about the crickets.
Paint.
How the hell did you get? What are you
Oh,
doing?
because
now?
we got the axles on the trailer, so the trailer's finally got its wheels on, and I had just painted it with a fresh paint of coat of paint, and just on the bottom side, so there were drips on the top side, and so when I was bending over with the ratchet and everything, I just sort of got it all on me.
Right.
Yeah, if you bring chocolate to coat your grasshoppers, can you not just eat the chocolate?
You're stretching it out.
Yeah.
Here,
Well,
I
you
bought
get more proteins, yeah, I guess.
50-pound block of chocolate to eat grasshoppers with. I'm like, yep, okay, I'm just gonna sit here.
This is so weird.
I want to know about the salamander thing though, because I've seen salamanders that are like this big, like 8 inches long. With
Cool thing about a
legs.
salamander is you just eat the tail, and it's like it's perpetual food.
No, we would put them on steaks, but they were way small.
Don't forget to come back tomorrow.
Get them nice and crispy. Chomp off the tail and wait a week for it to come back. Try not to starve in the meantime.
Don't forget to come back. Salamander's like,
yeah, I'll just keep making tails for you to eat. Yeah, rat.
There you
fucker.
go.
Yeah.
Self-sustainable.
Yeah.
Just get the salamander, cut off the tail, eat it, wait until it grows back.
It just grows back. Just like keep staring at it. Come on, man, I'm hungry.
Oh.
That's gross.
It would be hard to keep a pet salamander and and have a good relationship with it if you kept eating.
Yeah.
it.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Yeah. Such a weird thing to end the broadcast on. It's like now it's 11 o'clock.
Well, you
No.
asked me to hop on here, so
So of course you had to bring the weird.
Mallard.
But like, here's the thing. I didn't join cadets to learn how to survive in the woods. I joined cadets because I was the kind of person who was so shy that I would sit in the corner at a party, and if someone came up to me and asked me a direct question, I wouldn't be able to answer them. And I figured that the best way to get that kicked out of me without having to go to therapy or spend my mother's money was something like the Air Cadets or Army Cadets or whatever. And I had a friend who was in the Air Cadets, so that's what I went to. And I wouldn't exactly say I'm an extrovert, but I'm definitely a lot better than I was back then, because you don't have the choice.
yeah.
You really don't have the choice.
Yeah, they teach you how to be a leader.
That's some pretty high level thinking for a kid.
I spent a lot of time thinking because I had no friends.
I joined because my parents made me.
You joined because your parents made you? Interesting.
Yeah.
It's funny because my mother used to send me to what's it called? Sleepaway camp. You're gone for a week or two.
Yeah.
And the last time I went was on the condition that I'd never have to go again. And this was when I was like 14. And then a year or two later, I joined the cadets. So I joined a little late. And then I was asking to go to camp, and my mother was like, "What?"
Well, they pay you. They pay you
It's
in
all,
the
it's all relative, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. In my time, it was $60 a day for camp that they'd pay you to be there, and you're like completely fed and everything, clothed, everything.
Yeah, we didn't get paid that much. We didn't get paid for basic training, but everything after that you got paid for. But it was like small amounts.
But wasn't camp like nothing but PT?
Well,
No.
I did a PT camp. It was completely full PT, but there are other camps. You have music camp. You have more. There's so many of them.
The photography camp. Junior
What?
leadership school was in Air Cadets there was a photography camp.
Really?
Obviously there was a glider piloting camp,
Yeah.
which I didn't want to go to because I didn't want to be a pilot.
Yeah.
We
had mostly survival, but we could go everywhere. There's like the camps everywhere. Banff. There was, Army cadets are everywhere. So
yeah. And some of the higher level camps were all three in one camp. Yeah. Well, it's 11 o'clock. So I guess we got to shut this thing down, which is too bad because it's fun. We'll have fun till Jesse takes the T-bird away. So to those of you in the side chat, between now and next week, stay safe, stay healthy, stay sane, and be kind to one another. And to you guys who came on screen, thanks for coming on screen and being all entertaining and stuff. Because I'm not good at the entertaining stuff. But yeah, seriously, I hope to see everyone next week. Thanks a lot. Everyone say bye. Or pea soup, as the case may
bye,
be.
guys. Till next time.